Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you are tuning in to this broadcast. I want to welcome you to Aspects of Authorpreneurship, the show that addresses common concerns of authors and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, international award winning author and filmmaker, empowerment specialist, and founder of Artists Promoting Success, Neil M. Jackson. And I want to welcome you to today's show where we are going to discuss three common problems that people have with writing. And I'm going to give you the solutions to said problems. So before we get started, I want to remind you to observe our three rules of protocol. Number one, be sure to say hello. That way I know that you're here and I can speak back. Number two, be sure to like and share. And so if I'm talking about something that means something to you, make sure that you let somebody else know, right? And then number three, tag somebody that you believe would benefit from this broadcast. Now, who would benefit from today's show is anyone who wants to write or has yet to finish what they started. So let me repeat that. Anyone who wants to write, notice I did not say who wants to write a book, but who wants to write. So that could be a magazine writer, that could be a freelance writer. You can be doing a journal. So anyone who wants to write, who's made, says before, hey, I want to be a writer, I'm trying to get this written, or the person who has started but they've yet to finish their project. So we want to make sure that you get those people in the podcast today. And I also want to start out just generically thanking all of those for tuning in, whether you're going to listen to this live or on the replay. So from Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and even Wisdom, I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate your tuning in. Now, I want to go ahead and get started with the topic on today. Again, it's going to just be three things that are common problems to writing. And when I say common problems, what I mean is problems that many people have, right? Like there are a lot of people who say you may either know someone that's like this or you may be the person that's like this, that, hey, I really, really want to write. I want to write a book. I want to, get this play done. I want to get the film, what you call the script done. And so that might be who you are, but for whatever reason, you just cannot get going. And so I want to make sure that you guys get in here because you will be who I am talking to on today. So you guys give me a quick second. I'm going to tag a couple people to get in here. But again, I want you all to feel comfortable with asking your questions as well. Make sure that you put in the comment section any questions that you may also have, right? Make sure that if you have an issue, like you can put in the comment section what your difficulty is. So if you are right, if you have written or you've desired to write, but there is something that has been holding you back, then feel free to share that in the comment section as well. And so, like I say, we're going to just go ahead and get started and go through these various issues that I have found amongst authors specifically, but it pertains to any types of writers. So the first issue that most people have sounds really simplistic, but just being able to get started, right? So for many people, just getting started is its own job, is its own difficulty, is its own obstacle. Like how many people, and you know what, if we're being honest, this is beyond even a writing problem. This is, hello Miss Rochelle, thanks for tuning in. And then also I want to say hello to Michael J. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. But here's the thing, with so many things that we have in life, just getting started is a problem. There are times when we might talk ourselves out of it. There are times, and so when I say that, like, because you don't know what it entails, right? So you may not know what the workload itself entails, or what may happen on the other end of it. Like, there's so many times we talk ourselves out of doing something, so much so that you just stop doing it. You don't even try. So one of the, like I say, so the main issue, or I'll say one of the issues, and these three issues that I'm going to go over, they are not in any particular order. These are just three common problems that most people endure or encounter when trying to write. The difficulty to get started. And so, again, I don't have to go any further because it's kind of self explanatory. So, what I want to do is kind of go into the solution as to, well, if I'm having a problem getting started, what can you do? What can you tell me? Let's go into it. First of all, what I would say is identify why you are having a hard time getting started. Identify why is it hard. So I explained to you all what I mean by getting started, why it's hard to get started, but identify for you specifically, this is how you're going to be able to overcome it and move past it. Identify for yourself personally, why is it so hard for me to get started? So many times, one of the main things that prohibits us or prevents us or slows us or hinders us from getting started is fear, right? So it's fear of the unknown. All right, once I get through it, then what? What comes next? Am I going to be able to keep up the pace? Am I going to be able to meet the expectations? So, fear of the unknown sometimes is the reason why we have difficulty. Okay, talk to yourself some more. What else is it? What's stopping me? What's slowing me down from actually getting this thing going? Lack of knowledge. Have no idea what I'm going to do. What am I going to write? Where am I going to start? How do you start? If I get a sentence, where do I go from there? So sometimes it's the lack of knowledge, right? So you know what? Let's just leave those two there. And if you all have any more to throw in, then go ahead and put them in the comment section, and I'll deal with those. But let's start number one with fear. So one of the things that stops us, or one of our common problems that we encounter, is difficulty with getting started. And one of the reasons why we have a hard time getting started is because of fear. So, what do we do with that? Just like with anything else in life, what we do is we figure out, how do we overcome the fear? How do we combat the fear? All right, we confront it. That's what we do. So, you have to, again, go even deeper. Go even deeper. What is your specific fear? Are you afraid of success, or are you afraid of failure? Most people are actually afraid that they're going to do a good job and that they're not going to be able to maintain people's expectations, right? There are some people, they don't do it because they are afraid that they're not going to do it right, or that they are going to fail. But this is one of the ways that you overcome the fear of failure, is to let yourself know, as soon as I do it, I've succeeded. Okay? Say that to yourself. As soon as I do it, I've succeeded. That's how you overcome that. To redefine what failure actually is. See, we think we have the wrong mentality many times. We feel like that, okay, you know what? It has to be society standards in order for it to actually be a success. But here's the thing that you miss: you are the one who defines what success looks like to you. So if you have always wanted to write a book, or whatever this writing project is that we're talking about, if this is something that has always been near and dear to your heart, and for 2 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, you've put off doing it, the moment that you do it, you are a success. Not how many books were sold, not how many awards were won, but the moment that you do it. Well, you know what, B? I know that if anybody got content to write a novel with, I know you got plenty of content to share. But that's the thing. It's like we make things so much more difficult because we typically live in a world where we are trying to get everybody else's approval, and or we're trying to live to everyone else's standards, so that it ends up faking you out, right? Because it's like, okay, well, if say as an example, if I'm a person and maybe I'm reading other people's books to get inspiration from, right? Now, it's nothing wrong by from getting inspiration from somebody else. There's nothing wrong with getting inspiration from someone else. But what becomes problematic is if you now begin to compare your efforts to their efforts. Does that make sense? So now let's say if people know that I like Sarah Jakes Roberts, and I have her book Woman Evolved. I have a few of her books, but Woman Evolved is one of the more recent books of hers that I purchased. So let's say that I want to get her book because I admire her and I want to read her story, right? So there's nothing wrong with wanting to read her story. But it becomes a problem if now, because I've read her story, that now I'm intimidated to write my own story, whether that means my personal memoir or whether it means whatever content that has been put in me to give. So we have to make sure that I write a new generation like no. So Brian B. Drew Williams is saying that he's gonna write a new generation like Bible. The only reason why I'm gonna leave you alone with that comment is because Sarah Jakes Roberts herself always says she's going to write an Ebonics version of the Bible. But in either case, y'all, so here's the thing. So, how do we overcome fear? We overcome fear by confronting it. How do we confront it? It's to let ourselves know that just as long as we make an effort, that really is true success, right? Now, also understand that there can be levels to success. So, level one success is getting it done. Now, if you want to say, hey, I want to make sure that I sell X amount of books, so I want to make sure that I get these amount of awards, here's the thing, you can do it, but just make sure that you don't take away the accolade of actually writing the book itself, right? Don't play yourself short, don't unappreciate yourself, don't tear yourself down if those other things are not done. Don't make light of it to say, well, you know what, if I'm not an award winning author, then what's the point? Or if I'm not a best selling author, then what's the point, right? Because at the end of the day, if you are a writer at heart, then that means that you write because that's what you like to do, because that's what motivates you, it moves you, it gives you purpose. So when you are operating in purpose, it's not about how much money that you're making, right? Like you understand that I don't have to chase money, I don't have to sell my soul, I don't have to do anything different, be anybody different just to get this paper. So let's keep on moving because I don't want to stay so long on just one. So again, if you have difficulty getting started, what you want to do is figure out what is stopping it. Is it the fact that you have fear? And then what is your fear? Is it fear of failure or fear of success? So really kind of talk to yourself to figure out what it is that's hindering you. And so here's the thing. We're going to go to the second one, guys, because I don't want to stay all day just in one. So I think that that's good. Y'all got it. So difficulty getting started, figure out the source. Figure out the source. Why is it that you're having that difficulty? Confront it and then come up with that solution. If you yourself are not able to come up with a solution, then seek out a coach or someone that can help you analyze the problem and create a solution. Because that's the other thing. Hey, Miss Angela, a lot of times you have people who are not naturally solution oriented. I am a very solution oriented person. Anytime people are talking to me, Like if I hear that there's a problem, my mind is all automatically going for what is the solution? How can we solve it? And a lot of times it can be a situation where you're too deep in the forest. How they say you can't see the forest for the trees. And so sometimes you're so deep in it that you can no longer evaluate it. So again, that's where why and how working with a coach becomes advantageous. So let's just go to the second one real quick. So one of the other issues is one of the other issues is distractions. One of the other common problems, one of the other reasons why or issues that people have with writing, because that's what we're talking about. Three common issues. Notice, I'm not saying these are the only concerns. I'm not saying these are the only problems. I'm not saying these are the only issues, but these are three of the top issues, problems, concerns that people have when trying to write. Number one is trying to get started. Number two is distractions, right? So distractions can be anything. If you do not live on your own, then the people that you live in a house with can become distractions. Maybe you have said, you know what, hey, when I get home, I'm going to start writing. But when you get home, maybe the house is loud. When you get home, maybe somebody has a assignment for you. They have a request for you. They got something that they want for you to do. So now you got to kind of try to reschedule or postpone or figure it out again, right? That can be a distraction. Distractions can be things that's going on outside wherever your space is in which you write. So understand that distractions can be external, but guess what? Distractions can also be internal. How many people have ever gotten stuck with or struck by writer's block, right? That's internal. You can have all the time in the world, all the peace and quiet in the world. But when you get hit with that writer's block, then it's like, oh my goodness, what do I do? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. So, when we deal with those two issues of distractions, let's first start with the external. If you have external distractions, you have to determine for yourself, do I want this bad enough? Do I want this bad enough to move forward? Do I want this bad enough to come up with a solution? What do I mean? So, if I know that every time I come home, is going to be noise, whether it's in my house or outside my house. Maybe I find a different place to write. Maybe I find somewhere else to go. So whether I'm going to rent a space, whether I find, I get some type of whatever it may be, go to a library, find you a space where you can concentrate instead of allowing those external distractions to overtake you. And instead of allowing them to be victorious over you, you know what? Hey, I cannot change my environment, but I can change what I do in said environment. So if I understand that I am not a person who can concentrate in noise, then instead of me just saying, never mind, I'm not writing until this house get quiet or until the stuff that's going on outside stops, instead of putting what you're trying to do on hold, why don't you be the change agent? Why don't you say, you know what? All right, I understand what I'm working with. These are unfavorable circumstances. So, what I'm going to do is turn it around so that it can work in my favor. If I'm desiring to write 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever it is today, no matter what, I'm going to write. No matter what, I'm going to get myself in a situation. So, if I have to go to a library, then I'll go to a library. If I have to rent a space downtown in a school room, whatever, then that's what I'm going to do. You have to have that spirit of determination. And again, you have to be a solutions oriented person, because if you are not, everything that comes up, and there's always going to be something. Case in point, today it was supposed to be all new at 2, but guess what? Life started happening, was outside, couldn't get back home early enough. So I'm still outside at 2:05 and I was trying to get home. I'm not about to kill myself, not finna kill nobody else. What I'm gonna do is tell y'all, hey, instead of it being all new at 2, I'm gonna ask you to please join me at 3. Now I could have just as easily said, oh man, let me just give up because it was supposed to be at this time. And since I couldn't get at this time, then never mind. No, but I was determined that I wanted to be able to come on to bring this information. So whether I had to say, hey, it's gonna be more at 4, join me live at 5, 6, I'm gonna be in the mix, like whatever time it had to be, I was determined to come on. And that's the point that I'm making. When you have a goal, when you set a goal for yourself, you have to have a come what may spirit. No matter what, I'm going to figure a way to knock it out. That's external. Internal, what is your solution? When you get hit with writer's block, sometimes it can be as simple as, you just walk away for a few minutes, you walk away for a few hours, maybe even a day or two, to give your mind some downtime, right? Sometimes it can be just as simple as pushing back and then coming back. But sometimes you can give yourself a day and you sit down and nothing still comes out. Like you have a specific project that you're working on and you need your mind to be in that particular mindset, and it just ain't going. It just ain't doing. And so what you then have to figure out is say, you know what? It's not happening. Although I'm not happy with this, it's nothing that I can do about it. So let me see what I can do. What you can do is know what causes mental block, writer's block, whatever you call it. And a lot of times it's stress. So sometimes it can be the content that you're working on that's causing this stress. It can be also caused by trauma. So depending, again, the content that you're working on, if it's putting you in a place that's recalling uncomfortable, uneasy thoughts for you, then sometimes your mind will shut down as a way of protecting you. And so you have to always be mindful of that. And that's one of the reasons I've been very vocal when I say I hate when I see ads that say write this book in like 3 days, right? Because you don't know what type of book I'm trying to write. And sometimes it's actually harmful to make somebody, if you're not a therapist, if you don't have the credentials to get me through this process, then to encourage me to undertake a process that's going to like maybe evoke emotions that I'm not ready to handle. I don't think that that's a I don't think that is wise. And so a lot of times I will not tell people, hey, you can write a book in 3 days, but I will tell you what we can get done in 3 days, what we can realistically do. Because a lot of times, here's the thing, sometimes it's just getting going. We go back to number one. Sometimes you have to just get started. And so even if I can only work through, let's work on a synopsis today. Let's see what the book is about. That at least plants that seed, right? So things that you can do to try to overcome writer's block, I've already mentioned some of them, which is like take a break. So overall, you're taking a break from the work. So whether it is, a few hours or a few days, it's always going to be up to your mental capacity and what it can handle. But you want to put yourself at ease. So whether that means meditating, whether that means, going for a walk, whether it means listening to music, taking a bath or a shower, taking a nap, just getting your mind off of all the things that has it overwhelmed. Those are ways that you can overcome writer's block. And so then internally, once your creative juices are back to flowing, now you can go ahead and you can take it to the next level. So for those of you who are just now tuning in, two aspects of entrepreneurship, I want to say thank you. Again, this is the show that addresses common concerns of authors and entrepreneurs, such as issues to do with writing, editing, publishing, networking, and marketing. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today, we are talking about 3 common problems that people have with writing, and I'm also giving those solutions. But before we jump right back into number 3, because I've already given you the first 2, before we jump into number 3, I would be remiss if I did not give you guys the tea, right? So this week, we know we are just a couple days away from Thanksgiving. So this entire week, I myself have two great offers for you all. Those of you who may want to work with me, whether it's as a life coach or a lit coach, then I have some great deals today. We're talking about writing. And in fact, I have a writing masterclass that's coming up. So I encourage you, if you yourself have been getting stuck, you want to write a book, but maybe you don't know how, you don't know where to start, you keep getting stopped, you keep having distractions, you keep having all of these different issues that we're talking about today, then I encourage you to join my 12-week masterclass. It is entitled Everything You Need to Know to Write a Book. So in that 12 weeks, we're going to start writing your book, right? From coming up with your synopsis to crafting your outline to composing your chapters. We're going to work through that thing so that by the end of 12 weeks, if your book is not completely done, you will definitively have the formula, have tools in hand that you need to get it done. Every week, you're going to receive a new video that's going to give you something, some other helpful tool to get through it. Every week, you're going to have a Zoom session with me so that I can give you contact like this and you can ask your own questions to work through your specific manuscript. And then you'll also get a free book. So that masterclass is going to start on January the 11th, and it is normally $12.97, but all this week it is only $9.97, and you can secure your spot with just $97. So again, we are going through the entire week. This sale is good from now through Monday, the 27th, which we know is Cyber Monday. So you guys, you can reserve your spot for this masterclass for just $27. And then finally, for my life coaching, if you are ready to discover your true identity, embrace a deeper sense of self, learn how to overcome some of these internal and external hindrances that we're talking about, and figure out methods to conquer them, then I have another masterclass that is entitled Building the Quintessential Self. So these are, this is for people who are just not satisfied with who you are yet. You still feel like you're not walking in purpose. You're dealing with self-esteem issues, got some relationship things going on, just a whole lot of internal struggle, things that's holding you back from being your best self. And so maybe it's not you, but maybe you know someone who does suffer with these things. Let it be known. Take it and you can share the information. But again, this masterclass is going to be from January 8th. Is when it starts, normally $12.97. But again, for this week now through November 27th, it is only $9.97, and you can reserve your spot for just $97. And finally, if you watch the Educated Empowered podcast, or maybe you're on Wisdom and you listen to the Educated Empowered podcast, but you would like to be a sponsor, there are opportunities awaiting for you. We have an incredible lineup as Educated and Empowered. This is a show that gives you the information and inspiration to be your best self. We help you personally, professionally, politically, socially, and spiritually. And so, regardless of what your business is, I'm sure that it fits under one of those umbrellas, if not more, and you can sponsor a show. And our sponsorship packages start at just $100. And so I want to make sure that I get that out there to you guys. You can always contact me, either hit me up in the inbox, you can send an email or anything like that. And if you send your emails, then what you're going to want to do is send it to my email address, which is TennilleJackson@yahoo.com. TennilleJackson@yahoo.com. And so again, just wanted to let you guys know that those are options for you, just in terms of being here. And then for those of you who are independent authors and entrepreneurs, I want to remind you guys, and for those of you who didn't know, I'm telling you that on next Friday, November 24th, that is our monthly network meeting. So again, if you are not already an official member of APS and you would like to join our organization, you can join the organization completely, Or if you want to just say, hey, you know what, let me just get in here and see what you guys are doing this month and next month. We've been working on crafting our business plans for 2024. So we are working hands on to get this stuff done. And so if you are interested, you're trying to say, hey, I want to be ready for 2024, then I encourage you to go ahead and join our network meeting. If you're a member, you know that it's free. And then if you're a non-member, it's only $20 to join. And we meet virtually. So it does not matter where in the world you are. But if you're trying to get your business plan, work on your business plan, and you need some help, you want community, that's what we offer here at APS. And then last but not least, if you enjoy writing, we've been talking about writing, you enjoy writing, or you just want to perfect your craft, then I encourage you to join the Writer Society. Enrollment is now open. If you want more information, go to our weareaps.com website. That's weareaps.com, and you can get more information. So now let's jump right back into it. We have been talking about 3 common problems associated with writing and their solutions. The first one that we discussed was just the difficulty in getting started. And so with having a difficult time getting started, what I let you know is to try to identify what is the source of the problem. What is the root of the problem? Why is it difficult for you to get started? Many times it's a fear, right? Because I don't know whether or not I'm going to succeed or if I'm going to fail, right? And then the other thing is just the fact that there is a lack of knowledge. You don't know how. And so again, if you want to write, but you don't know how to write, you don't know where to start, then that's where working with a coach would really come in handy, because the coach, ideally, especially if it's me, it's somebody who's done it before. They know what they're doing. I'm over 20 books in national and international award-winning author. So it's somebody that is credible, that's able to help you in your process. Maybe you don't want to start with a coach. Start off with a consultation. Reach out and ask, and again, understand that everything is not going to be free 99, but if you want it, then you have to do what's necessary to get there. And so if you want to write this book and you don't want to hire a coach, then you need to at least do a consultation. You need to at least, join APS, some type of organization that's able to help develop you as a writer. You need to, watch a webinar, view a seminar, go to YouTube. Like, there are so many resources that's out there. So not having the knowledge really isn't an excuse, only if you want it to be, right? So that's the first thing that we discussed. If you have difficulty getting started, figure out why. Typically, the 2 main reasons is either a fear of some kind or the lack of knowledge. Just gave you those solutions on what to do. Number 2, we talked about distractions. The fact that your distractions can be, hello, Miss Shawan, the fact that your distractions can be either internal or external, right? And so you have to figure out, if it's an external, then that means that there is something you can do about it. Might not be your fault that you're dealing with what's happening, but the bottom line is you can choose whether you're going to let this stuff continue to happen to you, or if you're going to be the more resourceful one and figure out, okay, despite my circumstances, what can I do to still get my goal accomplished? And then if it's internal distractions, and the main one that I named that we deal with is typically writer's block. So if that's your issue, then what I did do was I named something that you could do. I gave you a lot of things, in fact, that you could do to overcome writer's block. Right now, I actually have someone on the mic on wisdom, Miss Cambria Frisia, who is going to come, and she's either going to give a quick question or comment at this time. How are you, Cambria? Uh-oh, did we lose her? Uh-oh. All righty. Well, for those of you who are tuned in from Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram, then you need to know that I am also simulcasting this from Wisdom. And Wisdom is an Audible app, and it gives opportunity for guests to also come to the microphone. And so If you want to come back to the microphone, Cambria, feel free to do so. But at this time, I'm going to go ahead and give the third common problem associated with writing, and that is inconsistency. You don't get it done because you don't start. Or if you start, you're not doing it on a regular basis. So it's like, okay, you'll put in an hour today and then you don't write again for another 3 weeks. And then by the time you think about writing again, you forgot what you started when you wrote like 3 weeks ago. So you come in, I give you 2 hours a day, and then I give you another 3 hours maybe in 2 more months. And then like by the time I get going, I don't really remember what I wrote. So now I'm constantly starting all over again. So listen, you got to commit to this thing. That's your solution. Commit to a consistent time frame. Okay. So notice I did not say it got to be 3 hours every day. No, but you have to commit to something that you can consistently do. A little bit of consistency is better than a lot of inconsistency, right? So if you say, and listen to this, y'all, because I have given this formula many times. People always say that they do not have time to write. Lies you tell. The problem is you have unrealistic expectations. You think that when you say I need time to write, I don't have time to devote to writing. You think that what that means is you got to have 3-4 hours a day every day to write. Nobody said that. You said that. You ain't never wrote a book, but you think that you know that the way to do it, the only way to do it is if you got 3 to 4 hours to devote. Lies. They would be nice, but that's not everybody's reality. So does that mean that for a person who cannot devote 3 hours a day can't write a book? Heaven forbid. So let me tell you what you can do, right? That's a very realistic. Come on, I'm finna get to it, Rochelle. Rochelle said you can use your phone. I'm sure about to get to it. So let me tell you this. So let's start before we get to your phone. Let's start with your setting a schedule. Here, and this is what I mean by schedule for these commitment folks. Let me tell you what I mean now. So if you say, okay, I got 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day that I will devote to writing. Can I tell you what 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week equal? Matter of fact, let's go with 4 days. 15 minutes a day, 4 days a week. That's 1 hour a week that you have devoted to writing, 4 hours a month. For those people who have a hard time, like I always kind of call it adult ADHD, and I'm not trying to be insensitive because I feel like that I suffer with it. Like when you can't focus on one thing for a very long time, then understand and embrace that. Don't try to make it. If you know that you start getting uneasy after sitting down for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, then make sure that you don't make yourself do that, because now you're not going to be productive. The time that you know is your time frame. So if I know that you got a good 15, 20 minutes out of me, then that means that's going to be the most productive 15, 20 minutes of your time. So that even if I made you sit down for an hour, I'm only finna get 15, 20 minutes of productivity from you. So why not only use the best of what you have? So, okay, so I'm gonna sit down. Okay, so Monday morning, instead of me getting up for work at 7 o'clock, I'm gonna get up for work at 6 o'clock. Give myself 15 minutes, because 9 times out of 10, if it's this hard for you to be consistent, that means somewhere lingering around is probably procrastination spirit. So you probably the person that need to stir around a little before you get up. So it's like you up at 6, you're woke, but you're not up. So you're the type of person, I got to stir around for a little bit. Let me walk around. Let me go get some coffee. Or I need some cereal. Let me make some breakfast. Let me turn on the news. Let me check my voicemail. So do all that. Give yourself time to procrastinate. Most people, if it take you this, if it's this hard for you to be consistent, then somewhere is a lingering procrastination, cousin. Somewhere is like, somewhere in you is something that resonates, that's like, you know what, I can't do it. I can't do it. You can do it, but you give yourself that time to procrastinate. Because let me tell you what's gonna happen. If you say, well, Tennille, I thought you said that we only needed 15 minutes, so why would I need to get up an hour early? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you why. Because this is what's gonna happen. If you get up at 7 o'clock normally, then in your mind you saying, well, can't I just get up at 6:45? No, you can't. Because if you get up at 6:45, now I gotta go to the bathroom, and you don't know how long you're gonna be in the bathroom. Then I gotta get me something to drink. Then you got all these things that now all of a sudden you got to do. You was normally in the bed, so it didn't even matter. You didn't even need to do those things when you was in the bed. But now that you done woke up a little bit early, now you feel like you got all this extra time. So give yourself extra time to do all the things that you're gonna throw out there, and get the writing done. Like, the whole reason for getting up early is so you can get the writing done. Or if you don't want to put that extra hour at the top of your day, then before you go to bed, if you have a normal bedtime, give yourself 15 to 30 minutes at the end of the night. One of the reasons why I don't necessarily suggest or encourage the end of the night is because, depending on how your day went, y'all know I ain't lying, because y'all probably could finish the sentence before I even say it. You know you gonna fall asleep. It don't matter if you at the table, in a chair, on the bed. If you done had a whole day and it got the nerve to be quiet, and you done sat down, and your bones done started settling in and everything, and now you got a pen in your head and you trying to think. Let me see. Cause this what y'all gonna do. Let me see. We rest in our eyes. Y'all remember that? I'm going to rest my eyes. So I'm closing my eyes so I can think. Next thing you know, it's tomorrow, y'all. It's tomorrow. So that's why I don't typically recommend waiting until the whole end of the day. But if you know you are the type of person that you're disciplined, you know that it's actually more advantageous for you, because maybe at night is when my house is quiet. At night is the time I actually have time to think, and your tiredness is not going to work against you, then by all means do it at the end of the night. Watch this. For those of you who work traditional jobs, most of y'all, if you work at least 8 hours, you get a 30-minute break. Somebody got an hour break. If this is what you want to do, then you can take 15 minutes from your break, from your lunchtime, and get some writing done, right? Now, I want to incorporate what Rochelle said when she said you can use your phone. And then she also said you don't necessarily have to be at a desk. So understand that when I'm saying writing the book, that I don't always mean physically writing a book. Even though I'm old school, even right now, y'all, I got a notebook and paper with me right now. I have tons of notebooks because I'm old school. This is what I do. Before I type up anything, is written somewhere. Now, new school folks, you don't have to write everything down if you don't want to. If that's going to, if in your mind, well, because if I'm not able to write it down, I can't do it. Lies you tell. So one of the first pieces of information I ever gave was go to your phone. If it is a smartphone of any kind, you can download a voice recorder app. Most of y'all probably already got a voice recorder app download to your phone. You just ain't using it to start your book. It's called transcription, people. So all you have to do is, even if you don't feel like writing, you might be driving on your way home. If it takes you more than 15 minutes to get home from work, pull out your phone, pull it to your voice recorder, and just start talking into your phone. Absolutely zero excuses, Rochelle. So on your way home, you don't have to hold it in your hand, because I don't want nobody talking about, well, you ain't supposed to be driving with your phone. You ain't got to hold it in your hand. Let me tell you, I know for a fact that it works through your radio. You know, when you turn on your car and how it automatically goes through your radio system or whatever, you can do it that way. If your car don't work that way, then just put it on what is like speaker, and it will still pick up what you're trying to say. So the point is, whether you're writing it down, if you're writing it down manually, or if you are using a voice recorder, the point is to use as little as 15 minutes a day. Because why? It goes back to number one. You want to just get started. And what you will see is that as you're starting, as you're going through it, that's going to give you momentum in and of itself. You're going to see that, man, wait a minute, I done got through, or at least you will be done thought what you might think of as chapter one. So even if you didn't completely finish chapter one at the very beginning, because again, everybody does not know or is not able to write your book in chronological order, right? And we can do that on a whole nother show. Most of the time when you're writing, it does not come out in chronological order. The most important thing is just to get the thoughts out, right? The most important thing is just to get the content from your head to the paper. You can figure out the ABC order of everything later on. So when you're just talking into the recorder, the point again is to get it from here, from your head to a device that you can go back and you can transcribe it later when you're writing. Even understand, hey, Miss Patricia, understand that just because you're writing it down, that does not make it the final version. Okay, that's the other thing. That's a whole nother talk for another day. But understand that it's simply a first draft. Most of the time we feel like that because I wrote it down or because I typed it up, then that's it, that's all. No, because what you want to do is go back to reread it, right? And that also goes into the second part of inconsistency, is with your storyline. If you are not going to write your book from beginning to end in one setting, which don't nobody write a whole book from beginning to end in one setting, then you have to make sure that you always reread what you've written thus far, right? Because what happens is so much stuff goes on in life. If you wrote for your 15 minutes and then you just pick up again, you don't remember where you left off. And so you'll be done. And let me tell you, as an editor and publisher, I've seen this. This is the reason why I'm able to tell y'all. I'm able to tell you because I've read people's writing like this. I had one person who literally sent me the same thing. Like the manuscript itself was probably about 60 pages. And the reason why it was 60 pages, hey, Felicia, the reason why it was 60 pages was because literally they had repeated the thing 3 times. They repeat this after it got finished. And so you could tell, if as I'm reading, I could tell where you stopped, because as soon as you stopped, you came back in. The first time it happened, I'm like, this sound familiar. Let me go back and read. Wait a minute. You wrote this before. And then I kept reading. So by the time I actually deleted all of the duplicate information, the manuscript was actually only about 24 pages. So this is why it's important to go back, and if you recorded it, then listen to it again. And I know y'all, but I only got 15 minutes. So here's the point. The point is, when you're recording it, understand that you're just trying to get the ideas out your head. At some point, you got to transcribe it. Transcribe, meaning you plan it and you actually writing it out. So whether you do it or you get somebody else to do it. So when it's in reading form, so now when I'm able to look at what I wrote, then I should be able to go over it. Because again, initially, this is a process. It's a process for a reason, meaning that it's gonna take some time. Meaning, so you don't say, okay, Monday I'm gonna write my book. Unless you're talking about just a line journal. No, you're not. No, you're not. You can start your book on Monday. But understand that you got to get the stuff. So whether you have an actual notebook or you type it up, it has to be in written form. You need to be reading what you wrote. So that way your storyline, because that's another problem with inconsistency, is storyline. It'll be times where it started out and it was, Jill and John in chapter one. And then by chapter two is Jill and Joe. And I'm like, well, what happened to John? What you mean? What happened to John? Because you saying Jill and Joe, but it started out Jill and John. I knew it was some with a J. Are you kidding me right now? Like, when you're dealing with people's names, it's kind of important, especially if it's a couple, because your reader doesn't just know that Jill didn't just get a new man. Like, we don't know that you just messed up and you forgot that you said John in the first chapter and now it's Joe. So it's important to spend time with your dialogue, with your manuscript, people. Spend time, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's fiction or nonfiction. I don't care if it's a children's book or poetry. You want to spend time with your manuscript. Spend consistent time. That way, it's going to be more likely that you will remember the storyline, but then don't just take for granted that you remember. Go back and reread. Like once it's that again, if you voice recording, I ain't asking you to re-listen because you're gonna say, well, Tennille only got 15 minutes. So if I re-listen to it, then I'll never get started. So no, voice record, just keep on recording. Every day, record a new 15 minutes. Every day, record a new 15 minutes. And again, if you're recording on your way home, and say if your ride home is 30, 45 minutes, voice record the entire time, because a lot of times what will happen is that you will you get in a flow, right? So like if you're talking about something, it doesn't matter whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Like when you are talking to you're saying it out loud, it's gonna keep on triggering other ideas. And again, it does not have to be in ABC order when you getting it started. All you trying to do is get everything from here, from out your head to the paper or to the recorder. So you gonna talk. So if it's your personal story, okay, well, I know I want to talk about my childhood. I want to talk about this, and this. I want to talk about when this happened. So then, and then just as you're laying it out, right, aka outline, as you're laying it out, then you can kind of start connecting the dots. Or if it's gonna be fiction, okay, because I want to talk about this relationship thing and when this happened, and you see what I'm saying. And the more that you start talking about it, the better that it's gonna be. Leah said, "You talking to me? I need to start this book." Leah, let me tell you, I had talked about you. One of the common problems of people that people have with writing, number one was getting started, right? Just getting started. And so in either case, y'all, I just want to again keep. Let me just go back real quick because we are almost at the hour mark. And so let's go back. For those of you who may have just tuned in, I'm gonna ask that you all be kind to rewind. I hope if this helped anybody, y'all send some thumbs up or something. Like if you're listening to it on Wisdom, and if it helped you, send some thumbs up. If you're watching it on any of the other platforms, send some thumbs up or hearts or say it helped or whatever. And if you're on Facebook, don't feel, if you want to send some coins my way, you can do that as well. But for real, and in all honesty, I always tell you guys, whenever I go live, whether it's personally, professionally, politically, socially, or spiritually, it's always to educate and empower. It's always to give you information and inspiration to be your best self. So give you what you may need. And sometimes it's about looking at said information in a different way, right? Because sometimes we make things a lot more difficult than they have to be. And a lot of times it's not maliciously, it's because we're working from a place of the unknown. So if I've never written a book before, then in my mind, I have all of these ideas of what I think it means to write a book. And so that becomes overwhelming. So then I never get started, right? So, like I said, for difficulty getting started, figure out why. Most of the time is lack of knowledge. So utilize the internet, utilize coaches, webinars, seminars, YouTube, utilize all of that, and it will help you. And sometimes it's we don't get started because of fear, whether it's fear of failure, and to which I said that the only way that you fail in this thing is if you never do it. If you die with that book in you, with that story in you, you die with it in you. That's the only way that you failed. Like, regardless of whether or not you are award winning or best selling author, it never takes away the fact that you actually did the deed. So there is no failure in that. And some people, it's a fear of success. And with the success, what is your fear? Are you afraid that you're not going to be able to maintain it? And if that's the case, then you have to again dig deeper with that. Second comment problem is the distractions. We talked about the internal, we talked about the external, and what you need to do with those. And the third problem was inconsistency. So if you notice, I did not note having no time as being the reason why you don't get started. Nah, you just inconsistent. You procrastinate because it's 24 hours in a day. And you're not gonna tell me that if it's something that you want to do, that there is no way that you can find the time or make the time to do it, because we make the time to do anything that we want to do. You understand? If there is something that I want to do, then I'm going to find the time. I don't care if I have to push a meeting back, if I got to squeeze this in, reschedule that. Like when it's something you want to do, then you find the way to do it. So the question then becomes, how bad do you actually want it? Or do you actually just like talking about it? Does it sound good when you say it because it's what is politically correct in a particular circle that you're a part of? Everybody talking about goals, so let me just come up with one real quick. So is this just like a talking point for you, or is it something that you actually want to get done? Because if it is something you want to get done, then just today's show alone have given you solutions of what you can implement to get started. So for those of y'all that's talking about, okay, I'm struggling with writer's block, what have you done to try to overcome it? For those of you talking about, I ain't got no time, now you know you got 15 minutes. 15 minutes a day can do a lot. So take those 15 minutes. You can either take it at the top of your day, take it at the end of your day. If you work a regular job on your lunch break, if you ain't got a notebook, download your voice recorder and talk into your voice recorder on your ride home, on your ride to work, whatever it is you got to do while you cleaning up, have that voice recorder going. Just get it from your head to the recorder or to the paper. So now you ain't got you might not thought about that before. Now you got that. So now what's stopping you? You know how to, you got to address whatever this is. So I done told you different, if you don't have the knowledge or skill set, I done told you platforms and places that you can go, things you can do to help get the knowledge for free and not for free. So YouTube, Google, free, right? Certain webinars, seminars, free. But when you're really trying to get to a place, hold on, y'all. Hold on. I hate this. I hate when so let me tell y'all what I figured out. I figured out with let me see. I figured out with wisdom what happens is if my phone rings during my podcast, then that kind of sends the system haywire. But in either case, the point is when you're ready to amp up your game, when you're ready to stop talking about it and actually do it, then you won't necessarily mind investing your money, because many of you still have not figured out that time is actually your greatest commodity. Many of y'all are still looking at money and you chase your money. So whatever you spend your money on is where your attention goes. So when you're really serious for real, then what you're going to find that you're going to do is, okay, well, let me get a coach. Let me join the Writer Society. Let me get a part of this community. Let me invest in myself, because now guess what? I'm holding myself accountable. I'm not just talking about doing it. I'm actually implementing a solution to get it done. And so that if I'm going to take the time and take the money, then I might as well, no. If I'm going to take the time and take the money, then I might as well go ahead and follow up with that and do the work. Do the work. And then let me tell you what I know from experience, not just from my personal self, but from other clients, is the fact that once you get started, you're going to be so mad at yourself, because you're going to be like, why in the world did I allow it to take me all this time? If I would have known that it didn't take this much time, and I'm not trying to say that it's easy. I'm simply trying to say that it's not as difficult that you've made it out to be. So again, for those of you you got some out of this show and you're ready to actually do the work, there I again inform you about my upcoming 12-week masterclass. If you are ready to actually write the book, whether you don't know how, you've been procrastinating, whatever it may be, then I encourage you to join this masterclass. You can reserve your spot for this week only, from now through Cyber Monday, which is November 27th. You can reserve your spot for only $97, right? So you can end up paying the $900, the rest of the $900 later. We have payment plans available, or for real, if you just want to knock the whole $997 out, you can do that. But it's important that you reserve your slot for at that $97 price. So that way the $9.97 will be honored, because normally this is a $12.97 masterclass. Okay. So I want to make sure that you guys, if you are serious and you're really ready to get started with this, that you join this upcoming masterclass. And then for those of you, again, if you're having some other issues, because sometimes we're not doing it because we don't think that we're worthy. Remember, I talked about that fear of failure and fear of success. That's an internal thing. And so I encourage you to join the Building the Quintessential Self Masterclass. And that too is normally $12.97. This week only $9.97. And you can reserve your spot for just $97. And don't forget that if you would like, you can become a sponsor for the Educated and Empowered podcast, whether it is one day a week or all 5 days. You can go ahead and be a sponsor. Rates start as low as $100. So if you have a business, product, service that you would like for us to push to our audience, then you may want to become you will want to become a sponsor. And so I want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and do not forget to join us tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last day of our week. We know that this is Thanksgiving week, so we are cutting it short. Tomorrow will be our last day, and we are going to be live with It's Not Politics, It's Principles. And I have a special guest, Miss Anna Schiefelbein, I almost said it wrong, Anna Schiefelbein, who is the co-chair of the Illinois Green Party. And so we have taken on this entire series that you guys know, the month of November. We have been talking about the E's of the Green Party. We talked about ecology, economy, and Anna's going to be on tomorrow to talk about equity. And so I want to thank everybody so much. I'm hoping nobody had questions. If you did, again, put your questions or comments in the comment section, and I will go back. I will go back and I will read and respond to them. But thank you all so much. If what I said helped you, then again, be sure to tag somebody that you know that it may also help them as well. So thank you all so much for tuning in. And until next time, you all stay inspired.